Well, that took a while. So I've got a sort of prototype working here. I've got the same Pico and the Pico probe with the transputer link going over to the link adapter, the IMSC 11, which is being interfaced to with this Arduino Mega embedded here, which is displaying its results over here on an OLED display. So I've got data coming in being received by the Mega and then displayed over here. I've put a scrolling ASCII display on the display as well as the in and out values. So at the moment I've got a different emulator running on here, and I swapped over to one that was a bit more modern and supported a few more instructions. So I've completely swapped out the emulator and put another one in. It's still based on the Julian Highfield emulator, but it's a bit later, and I was certain that that compiled and ran on my my PC. I ran it as an emulator. I've also got the link still working with the PIO and an extra signal for the 5 meg clock for the link adapter. So I can't actually run this with more than 3 links. At the moment I've only got 1, but the code should work for 4. So once you're talking to something that doesn't need a clock, which isn't a link adapter, then you can actually have the 4 transputer links instead of 3. The other way of doing it would be to put a dedicated 5 meg oscillator on the board for the link adapter, which is probably a better way to go really, because otherwise you're using up one of the links on one of the transputers to do the clock for the link adapter. So the emulator is now hooked up to the PIOs. I've written a server. So originally the emulator had a server that talked to a PC, but I don't want to do that. What I actually want to do is have a little server to talk to the PIOs, which is what I've done. That then talks to the link adapter, which talks to the Arduino, which will go over USB and talk to the PC and do the server stuff that way. And the server is designed for opening files and doing console displays and things like that. It's just a way of interfacing to your transputer. So I haven't got that PC part, but what I do have on here, hard-coded, and it's not boot from network or boot from link at the moment, it's hard-coded, so it's like a transputer with a ROM in it internally rather than actually booting from ROM. So the code is just there and it runs it. I can do boot from network once I've got the PC running, because then you'll be able to boot from a file. So in there I've got a Hello World program. I had to modify it a bit, and it's one that's written in assembly and seemed to have a couple of bugs in it, so I had to modify it a bit. So at the moment it's not doing any outputs other than just saying hello world down the link. If I let's switch the transputer off, you can see some scrolling dots there. That means that we're just getting garbage. We're getting FF in because the link is now down. So the clock's gone, all sorts is gone because the transputer's not there. If I plug it in, you can see that scrolling in is hello world. Now leading F, I don't know why that's lost. That just some sort of bugette or something, I think, to do with the clock coming back up on the, there you go, it's hello world coming back up on the Pico. If I use Eclipse to stop and run that, let's see what happens there. Here we go. So if I just run it, you'll see the Pico probe blip, and on the display it scrolls across with hello world. So that's a much cleaner way of starting up the link adapter. So that is actually transputer assembly language running in the emulator, talking to my server, talking to the PIOs to get inputs and outputs, going over through the link adapter, grabbed by the Arduino, and then displayed on the OLED display. Now the ACK is also going back. That's why you don't lose characters here. Everything is handshaked. The ACK is generated by the link adapter, when the Arduino acts the data coming over. So it's bidirectional transputer link. I know it works in the other direction because I've had the echoing program running on the Arduino, on the Pico. That's Pico, isn't it? Pico echoed to the Arduino sent a value out, Pico echoed it, came back, and they were displayed on the OLED display. That still works. So I know that the in and the out works, and the acts work. So there's a few things to maybe change here. At the moment the link is actually inverted because I've got the level shifters. I'm maybe going to move to a non-inverted version, just makes the code a bit easier. It means that you can have the same code, or the same values going out the link, although the link hardware or code itself actually does the inversion, so it's not really a problem. Then I think I'm going to try and use the USB to serial of the Arduino to create a server link over to some code on the PC so that I can get the full server functionality and read files and so on, and then we should be able to run Hello World over on the PC, use that as a console. But yeah, so fundamentally that is working. This is now, well, it thinks it's a transputer with one link. I don't see a problem putting more links on. That's just an array in the code, so I just change a number and that goes up to whatever I want. So I think the next step will be to try and get that server working so I can run the Hello World. Then I think run some other example code that is floating around and just see how good this emulator is. I think the Hello World code I had was actually T800 code. I had to remove a floating point instruction, which isn't supported by this emulator. It's only a T400 series, or T4XX, which is fine, but if I can find another emulator then I can hook my little PIO server into it. That shouldn't be too difficult, as it uses the interface to it is the transputer out and in instructions, so it should be pretty easy to port over. Just need to hook into whatever part of the emulator performs the functionality for those instructions. At the moment it's not particularly fast. I think that's to do with the OLED updating over here. Yeah, the scrolling isn't actually artificial, that is the speed of the transfer at the moment. I think it's all at this end, because this is polling for data and performing the acts, that slows the whole link down. So that can probably be sped up somehow. I don't think it's really that slow. The LCD is updating and doing quite a lot of display stuff, and it's bit banged, so I think once I get the server on the PC running I can just drop the OLED output and it should speed up, hopefully. Or it's just very slow. When the emulator is running it does chuck out some serial output, but I've disabled quite a lot of that, so I'm not sure how fast that emulator is. It's probably not going to run as fast as a real transputer, not without quite a lot of optimization, because they were pretty fast chips. I'd need to speed it up considerably. There are 2 cores in there, so maybe I could do something with that, but that's not really the point. It's just to see whether I can do it. If you want it twice as fast, put another transputer in. That's how it's supposed to work anyway.